Welcome to another episode of LiveFaith, where we're just taking some time to talk and share stories about our faith and our life and how it works out. I've enjoyed doing this the first few episodes and interviewing some interesting people. I get to interview an old friend of mine now, name's Duncan Weiss. He's my favorite Thai American Australian in the world. Hi, Duncan. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Duncan lives currently in Bangkok, Thailand. When I knew him, there we go, representing on the t-shirt. I got him up out of bed during his dog walk to come down and talk to me. I had just finished supper, but that's the joys of speaking across an ocean. Duncan and I went to school at Northwestern together. The greatest eagle mascot in the history of the world.
Wow, thank you.
So Duncan, how did you end up in Bangkok?
So after Northwestern, I went and did YWAM, or Youth with a Mission, to study about discipleship training school. Because I had a youth ministry background, I wanted to take it further. And after YWAM, I wanted to get back into youth ministry. So I was applying for jobs all over America. Like, no one wanted me. So I applied for a job in Australia, like part-time. And they're the only church that contacted me. And they said, but you know, it's in another country. So I said, I have faith and I trust God that he's in control. And I took everything I had in Minnesota and I moved to Australia. And while I was there, like, we had an opportunity to do a mission trip and we were going to go to Fiji. And then my senior pastor said, there's this couple from Australia and they work as missionaries in Thailand. Would you like them to speak with your youth group? And when they spoke to our youth group, I was like, we got to go to Thailand. That sounds amazing. And they worked in this orphanage. And so we did a short-term missions trip to Thailand for about 10 days with me and some of my youth leaders. And as soon as I stepped foot in Thailand, like, I just loved the country and I wanted to see more of it, but I was only there for a short time. And so I decided, like, I wanted to go there full time as a volunteer and live in an orphanage for, about a year and just see what God will do with me while I'm there. And just, it wasn't easy, and it wasn't like probably the best decision I've ever made, but because it had some difficulties, but God is always good. And after 8 months, I had to move back to Australia. And when I was living in Australia, I kept thinking, like, I want to do more. I want to get back to Thailand. And so, but I needed a job. I couldn't just go there and depend on someone to pay for me to live there and enjoy my life. So I started searching for jobs on teaching English. And because in Thailand, if you have a 4-year degree in anything, you can teach English if you're from a first world country or native English teacher. So I went and taught English in Thailand, and that's what brought me here in 2014.
It was about 6 or 7 years ago that I spent a couple weeks in Thailand ministering to some refugees on the border that were related to some that we were working with in St. Paul. And I know exactly what you mean. You step foot in the country, and it's just a very enchanted place. The other thing that you mentioned, and I know, having sort of tracked you and talked to you on social media for years, so often when you live in one place and you live in your home country, you don't think all that much about immigration status, but that's kind of a pain for you, isn't it? Having to kind of bounce back and forth and get those visas lined up.
Yeah, well, for immigration, we only can get a work permit and a visa for 1 year. And so, but when you first come here, like, I had to hop across the border to Laos, to Vientiane, and I had to do like the visa thing. When I was a missionary, I had to do that. Once I became a teacher and I got a work permit, I have to check into immigration every 90 days to tell them I'm still living here. This is my address. And then every year we have to renew our visa and our work permit. But luckily now I'm in a very good private school, and my HR department checks in for me every 90 days, or I can do it online. They've made it a little bit better, but yeah, immigration is not a place you want to go and hang out, especially nowadays. I wouldn't want to go there. You can be waiting there for 6 hours. So
our missionary friend told us stories, and it's just one of those things that we so often take for granted. That's just a daily reality, really, for you. So talking about faith and religion, obviously Thailand isn't a native Christian country. what are some of your observations about how faith and belief works in Thailand?
So in my first school I worked in a government school. Every morning the kids they bow, or they don't bow down, but they worship this like golden idol, and they're forced to worship it. And unless you say that you are either Muslim or Christian, then they won't force you to worship it. And once a week the monks would come into the school, and the kids would have to bring like snacks or gifts for the monks, and the monks would leave. It was very strange for me. Like, it was not, and whenever I asked, like, why are we doing this? And the answer was always, it's Thai culture. But I'm like, well, why? Why is it Thai culture? And like, you can never, as a foreigner, you can never say why. They're like, well, you don't understand. You're not from here. And I see temples everywhere. I mean, when I go for a walk and I go exercise, like you see the monks, and they're so highly respected here, more than any like minister or pastor that I've ever met. And it's very different. But there are churches here, and I'd probably say in Bangkok especially, we have a lot of international churches. But where I used to live outside of Bangkok, most of the churches are only Thai churches or Catholic church or like Filipino church. So it was very different for me. Like, I want to go into like a Baptist church or a Pentecostal church and be able to understand what they're saying and be able to worship. It's very difficult at first.
Speaking of the monks, I still remember being in a bus terminal in Chiang Mai, in northern city, and they had it was almost like a velvet rope VIP section right in the middle that they would allow the monks to go sit in. I was told partly because they were so honored, and partly because they wanted to protect them, because if certain things were to happen, those monks would have to leave their religious service for purification.
Yeah, I mean, even when you see them walking down the road, you just see everyone just drops down and bows down to them. I'm like, but they are not God. They are just like a human being. And there is no like, anyone can be a monk. And there are people sometimes that are running from the law. They can just go become a monk, and then no one can touch them. Like, they are safe now. So it's just very strange. And like every morning when I'm walking to school from the train station, you can always see like the monks are walking along, and all the businesses are coming out and giving some stuff from their business, and it's very different.
So you're obviously a Christian. You have a church in Bangkok. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what your experience is with your church?
So my wife and I, she is Thai. We are service pastors. So we look after the service teams of the church. So like refreshments, the Connect team, like new members, people who want to join the team. And we are part of Live Church Bangkok. And our senior pastor came here about 12 years ago from Sweden. And he started his church here, Live Church. And now we have two locations in Bangkok and one in Cambodia as well. And my friend is the head pastor over there in Cambodia. So right now, where we meet right in Siam, which is like right in the heart of Bangkok. And we rent out a movie theater because it's very difficult to rent land, especially when you're a foreigner. And also, like, it's so expensive in Bangkok. So right now we meet in a cinema every Sunday morning, but obviously right now we can't use the cinema because everything entertainment-wise has been closed. So we're doing the online on Facebook like everyone else. But it's very different. Our church would be half Thai and half foreigners. But a lot of the foreigners are just like on holidays and just like stopping by. So every week I meet all these new people, and then I might never see them again. But we are sowing seeds in Bangkok, and we're starting to see like our church is growing. I mean, since we've gone online, we've seen thousands of views, whereas usually we get about 100 people on a Sunday. So God is expanding his church here in Thailand.
Praise God. That's amazing. What does active ministry look like in that church compared to what you would experience in a typical American church?
So I'm one of the pastors, but I'm a volunteer. Like, I still have a normal job. I work as an English teacher in a private school in Bangkok. And the only person who is full-time is the senior pastor. Everyone else is volunteering, or they are a missionary from another country that helping with the church. So it's much different, but it's like, for us, it's like church in a box. Like, we get there every Sunday, we got to set up, and people come from Bangkok is not like small. It's like 10 million people, and it's very spread out. So people come from all over Bangkok. Luckily, we have these great train systems to get people around. Because even for me, like I live quite far from church. Hop on the train in 20 minutes, I'm there.
Talk to me about conversations. If you're sitting, say, in a Bible study, surrounded by Thais, what's some of the conversations? What's some of the thinking like coming from for a Thai growing up in a Thai culture compared to maybe your experience or what our typical experience would be?
Well, as Americans, we're very outspoken, and Thai people are usually more reserved and more shy. Even my wife, like when she's doing her Bible study, she doesn't want me anywhere near her. She doesn't want me reading her notes. Like she's like, this is between me and God. Like I don't, even though she's writing it in Thai and I couldn't read it anyway. So, but like they're more reserved. And we have a life group. In our life group, it is Thai and foreigner, and I and my wife, we lead the life group, and the Thais are a bit different. And even like my wife says, sometimes when she reads the Thai Bible, she doesn't quite understand it. She asks me questions like, what does it say in the English Bible? And so I bought her a Bible that has Thai and English together so she can look at the difference. Because Thai, they only have one translation, whereas English, we have, hundreds of translations.
How do you happen to know how old that Thai translation is?
I wouldn't know. I would have to look at her Bible. It's probably not new.
Yeah, I remember, when we were there doing ministry, we brought over loads of Bibles, including some of those Thai English Bibles, but then we were also dealing with the Karen language and another Burmese language of some form, and that is just a huge hurdle to overcome, because like you say, as simple as reading, we run into the issue where I have a couple people that use King James Version, I use English Standard Version. The difference between that is nothing like the hurdles of overcoming a foreign language barrier.
Yeah, and like when you live in Thailand, especially when you do ministry, like you have to be able to speak the language a little bit, but it's a difficult language to like totally like understand. Like I can't read it or write it, but I can speak enough to speak about Jesus or to speak about my life. But most people in Bangkok nowadays can speak quite good English.
I remember that was the only thing that saved me, because I couldn't pick up a word in my 2 weeks there, partly because there's a different language for men and women, essentially. And so the woman, the missionary that we were working with, couldn't tell me what any of the male words were. So unless people wanted to believe that this is a female face, it just wasn't going to work.
Well, in Thailand, you never know.
That's a whole different issue. How do you see, we talked a little bit about how Buddhist culture is everywhere. You see the temples everywhere. How does engaging people that are that centered on Buddhist with conversations about Christianity and the gospel, what kind of struggles have you run into in those sort of talks?
A lot of Thai people believe that if they are Thai, then they are Buddhist. There is no choice, that they cannot change their religion, because they say, I am Thai. I cannot be Christian. I am not a foreigner. They think Christianity is only like a foreign religion, but there are a lot of Thai Christians here. But when you meet people who are Buddhists, whereas like my wife, she was Buddhist, but she didn't practice it and she didn't really believe it or understand it. And the way I met her is she asked me how, when we met on the internet, she asked me how to become Catholic. I said, I have no idea, but I can teach you how to become a Christian. And that's how our relationship started. And in that moment in my life, I wasn't living the way I should be living as a pastor. So actually my wife asking me questions about God brought me back to what I was supposed to be. And every night I was like sharing with her like Bible verses, and I told her to get this Bible app because it's so much easier like for her. But when you speak with Thai people, most of them think that they can't change their religion, or they think Christianity is not for them because they are Thai.
What are some of their biggest misconceptions about the Christian faith?
Most of my Thai friends, they think there is no difference between Catholic and Christian. They think it's all the same. When I said like, oh, I work at a Christian school, they're like, oh, is that St. Mary's? I said, no, St. Mary's is a Catholic school. They're like, oh, but what's the difference? Like, they think everything is the same. And many of the questions, I mean, they know about afterlife, and I've been in some weird, like, they share a lot about afterlife and a lot about, like, if you're not Buddhist, like, you're going to be spending eternity in hell. And so there are some very similar things, but they don't have, like, a relationship. Like, and like I asked my wife, like, right now, like, they're all freaking out about this virus, but don't they have faith? She's like, no, they don't have any faith at all. Like, they just follow what they're supposed to do. Like, that's what they've been trained to do. Like, even when I taught my little students, like, I taught first grade, 6, 7 years old, they just follow what the teachers say. They never think for themselves. And it's really hard. Like, one time I told my students, can you please draw me a picture? And the teacher, draw a picture of what? I'm like, just like whatever you want to draw. They're like, yeah, but of what? Like, what do you want us to draw? And one kid said, teacher, I'll draw a house. I said, okay. And then everyone in the classroom drew a house. Like, they don't always know how to think for themselves, because since they are young, they're told what to do, when to do it. This is what you worship. This is where you go. So it's very difficult sometimes getting them out of that state of mind that they can have a faith of their own.
Wow, that's quite a profound way of thinking. And I would even go so far as to say that way of thinking is entirely incompatible with the Christian faith. We can't be told that we're a Christian. We're only a Christian if we choose it on our own. Does that become a barrier for new Thai believers?
Yeah, I mean, many of the Thai believers, sometimes it feels like they're still holding on to, like, their Buddhist tradition and their Buddhist beliefs. Then it gets, like, mixed up. Like, I am a Christian Buddhist. Like, I've seen a lot of my friends that they tell me that they're Christian, but I see that they still go to the temple and they still do this, and this. I'm like, I don't want to, like, judge them and say, this is not what you should be doing, because I'm not that close with them. But, like, my wife said, like, we can't tell them what to do. They have to experience it from God themselves.
It sounds like a very first century church problem, where you see that in the Corinthians with this mixing of the worship of the pagan gods with Jesus Christ, and Paul having to say, there's a line here.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, because, I mean, and in Thai, like, a lot of us, like, it feels very traditional when you live in Bangkok. Like, it's not like we have everything that America has, but we don't always take full advantage of it. And sometimes I feel like I'm living like 50 years ago, like, with the things that I see around me and just the way people are treated. Like, even as a foreigner, like, there's a lot of racism against me being here, and why are you in my country? Like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I'm a teacher. When you say you're a teacher, then they're like, oh, okay. If I said I was a pastor, they'd be, what? What's a pastor?
I remember one of the missionaries that we interacted with a little bit in Bangkok was an African-American woman. And I remember the stories that she would tell, and, you know, seeing the thinking that comes, you know, especially difficult for me to process coming into what seems like from the outside this highly spiritual culture where Buddhism is everywhere, but then seeing something as clear as that racism. And the shock to us was my wife wanted to go into a mall and pick up some lotion. It took them 25 minutes because they had to find the one brand of lotion they could find that didn't have bleach in it.
Yeah.
Because the Thai women wanted to bleach their skin to look less dark because they thought that they had some spiritual overtone to it.
They also believe that if you are white, you are more beautiful. Like, my wife doesn't want to go in the sun and get tan because she said, if I'm black, I am not beautiful. So they buy all this whitening stuff. And even, like, spirituality, like, I rent this townhouse, and in my house, there's like a spirit house. And my owner said, I cannot take it out because I am not the owner. So what we do is we cover it up with a blanket, but there's like a Chinese spirit house inside my house. And I told my wife, like, I want to remove it. She's like, you can't, because, like, they're so superstitious about ghosts and ancestors. And you see, like, these spirit houses everywhere outside of businesses, and they bring food to it every morning, and they bring some drink to it every morning. And I'm like, but at the end of the day, they throw it out. So obviously the spirits aren't eating it, but they want to, like, I remember I was teaching English in this house, and they're Chinese Thai, and there was like all these little symbols on the wall everywhere. I asked my student, what's that on your wall? They said, this is to protect our house from ghosts. So they're very like superstitious about like supernatural things. They're very scared of. I mean, most of the movies that come out of Thailand are about ghosts.
You know, maybe we should have done this at the beginning, but can you give me the 1 minute Cliff's Note version of what Buddhism is as a religion?
Oh, it's difficult religion to really understand. It's like, it's kind of like, I don't know, like when I worked in an orphanage, these like high like people would come and bring rice to the orphans because they want to, if they help out the least, then they will get, you know, a better life. But, you know, when we help someone out, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to post it on social media, but they would always come and take the bag of rice and get a photo with all the poor kids around and say, look what we are doing. Like we're going to get so much goodness from this. And it's not a faith. It's like, I don't know, it's difficult to understand or even to explain. It's just like a mantra, like trying to get like a spirituality inside you, like to become like peaceful. And it's more like meditation. A lot of people, they go to the temple sometimes for days, and they just like meditate, and they think that will clean their life. And we have these holidays called Loy Krathong, where they put like this little krathong and they put it in the water. And the reason why they do it is said that they want to push the bad away. And when they push the bad away, they hope good will come back to them. And they do this every year. Like, and even next week is Thai New Year, but Thai New Year got postponed this year until July. We cannot do any water festival next week. There's no water festival. And in the beginning of the Thai New Year, what they do is they have a family it's family day. All the parents will sit on a chair, and all the kids will come and pour some water with like flowers on the parent's hand and ask for forgiveness for the bad that they've done in their life. And then when they pour this onto them, it cleanses them and it makes them good again.
So it's sort of this balance between karma, works theology, and this having this mental space position in order to move on into a positive afterlife.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Like they want to push away the bad and they want to bring in good.
And orange Fanta at a oversized birdhouse is going to bring that.
It's always Fanta. It's either orange Fanta or red Fanta. And I guess no one else likes to drink red Fanta except for the ghosts.
I guess that's one way to sell red Fanta.
Well,
Duncan, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. I want to ask you one last question here. You have had a lot of experiences. You've seen a lot of different things in a lot of different settings. I know you understand American culture. I know you understand Minnesota culture. What would be your number one encouragement? There we go.
Timberwolves.
T-Wolves. Yeah, we used to actually have professional sports in this country back in the day. It was great. I don't think we're missing that much of not seeing the Wolves play this year, but there's always next year. What's your number one encouragement for how we here can live our faith out better, especially in light of the experiences you've had?
Yeah, well, like here in Thailand, like the darkness is more visible. Like it's very obvious, and so it's easier to be a light when you are in the darkness. Like for example, my life group, we meet every Wednesday night in this area called Saladang, and in Saladang is the red light district. Like the things that you see in Thailand are things that you'll never see like in Minnesota. Like when you're walking down the street, you can see prostitution, you can see massage shops that are not really massage shops. And like you can really feel the heaviness and the burden of this. This is a beautiful country with beautiful people, but there's so much demonic stuff going on here. There's so much evil that is like right in your face that in Minnesota they want to try to keep it hidden, or in America as well. So more than ever, like you need to shine. You need to step out of your comfort zones because when you're in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow, you're never going to learn, you're never going to become who God truly wants you to be. And I mean, I grew up in Minnesota. I know what it's like, and it's so easy to be religious and just to follow what the pastor says and to do this and that, but you need to make it your own, because it's a relationship, and it can change every day. The more time you spend with God, the more you know him. You can't know about God. You need to know him truly as like your Lord and your Savior. And in Thailand, like, I just realized, like, your faith needs to be real. Like, I can't live my faith off my parents or off my wife or anything like that. Like, your faith has to be real and relational. Like, I realized it's easier for me to tell Thai people about Jesus because they don't know anything about him. Whereas people in America, they've already rejected it or they don't want to hear it. Whereas Thai people, they don't know anything about Jesus, and they're excited to know like something new. They always want more information. And even when I did a trip in Cambodia and we did street evangelism, so many people were so welcome to us and listening to what we had to say. And when I preached in Cambodia, the cinema was packed. People never heard about Christmas or anything like that. And so we take it for granted that, you know, we grew up in a country that knows about God and knows what church is, but we need to show them what church truly is, and that's us. We are the body of Christ.
Good words, and that's one of the things that we're experiencing right now as a church, where it can't be a building now because our buildings are empty. Now it's, you know, it's us showing relationship. It's us showing love to our neighbors, even though we can't come within 6 feet of them. So good word, Duncan. Thank you for your time. All of our viewers, thank you for joining us on LiveFaith. We will see you next time. Duncan, say goodbye.
Goodbye, guys. God bless. Thank you.